Shalom, welcome to the Jewish Task Force, JTF. My name is Chaim Ben Pesach. This program is dedicated to elevating the soul of Eden Ben Yisrael. Barack Hussein Obama, the socialist, is leading America down a path of economic ruin, economic bankruptcy, and total collapse. Since Obama has become president, he has tripled the national budget deficits. He is increasing America's national debt at an astronomical rate. We never had budget deficits ever approaching the horrific figures that we see under Obama, $1.3 trillion a year, $1.4 trillion a year. If we had had budget deficits of $300 billion or $400 billion a year, that was considered to be astronomical, and it was. But now we're talking about tripling, quadrupling our rate of debt increase under Obama. And that is before Obamacare even kicks in. Obamacare is the socialist healthcare program that's going to cost many trillions of dollars. That isn't even going to kick in until his second term, if God forbid he's reelected to a second term, which will add many more trillions to the $1.3 trillion, $1.4 trillion annual budget deficit that we're building up every year now under Obama, for the first time in American history. The fact is, since Obama has become president, we are accumulating debt at a rate comparable to what we saw in Greece, or Portugal, or Ireland, or other countries that eventually needed bailouts to avoid national bankruptcy. We are now on that trajectory toward national bankruptcy. We're spending at the same rate of debt that those countries were spending. The difference is, those countries were relatively small nations that were able to get bailouts from the European Union and from other sources. The United States cannot get any bailout. The United States economy is so huge, so gigantic. It's the biggest economy in the world by far. No one can bail out the United States. No one can handle the multi-trillion-dollar deficits that Obama is creating for this country. We are headed on a path of national self-destruction. Literally. If we're ever put in the position of Greece or Portugal or Ireland where we need a bailout, it's over. You'll see panic on Wall Street. Panic much worse than we've ever seen. Panic comparable to what we saw in 1929 when the stock market crashed and it led to the Great Depression. For 12 years, this country had a Great Depression where unemployment went up to 25%. People were starving in the streets. There was incredible desperation in this country at that time. The economic situation today is not any less calamitous. If we reach a level of debt where we can't pay our bills and where everything collapses and there's bankruptcy and total panic. And that is where we're headed. And of course, the collapse of the United States economy will lead to the collapse of European and Asian economies and economies all over the world which are dependent upon the United States. And so we're talking about a worldwide depression, the worst thing we've ever seen in our lifetime by far, probably even worse than the depression of the 1930s. And that is literally where we're headed. That is literally where we're headed. Study this issue and see for yourselves. I'm not exaggerating. See for yourselves if what I'm saying is true. This is where we're headed. And it's going to increase if Obama's reelected to a second term because Obama, with Obamacare, once again, we're going to have massive new costs in addition to the massive deficits that he's accumulating every year now in the annual budgets that he submits. In his latest budget that he submitted, he offered no cuts to the huge deficit spending, but rather increasing even more the national deficit and the national debt at a rate that has to be alarming to anyone who has an ounce of sanity. Socialism doesn't work. Obama is a socialist. He believes in government control, top-down control of the economy. That doesn't work. That's what led to the collapse of the Soviet Union. That's why China, which was a communist country, had starvation, and tens of millions of Chinese died when Mao Zedong had the Cultural Revolution. And so the Chinese now have become state capitalists. It's state-controlled capitalism. It's not the type of free market capitalism that we associate with other countries, but it is still capitalism. China has privatized and has created a system of capitalism because Socialism doesn't work. It causes mass starvation. Look at North Korea. The people are starving to death. The children are all malnourished. Probably 1 million or 2 million Koreans have died in the past decade of starvation. While South Korea, which has a more free market-oriented economy, is prospering and has an economy almost comparable to that of the United States in terms of the cost, in terms of the standard of living of average Koreans. Socialism doesn't work, and that is what Obama is moving us toward. That is what he is pushing for. That's what the news media supports when they support him. That's what the Democrats support. More and more government control, more and more government debt, more and more deficit spending. We're cutting our throats. Re-electing Obama will destroy the United States. This is not just a matter of difference of opinion about this tax or this particular program or that particular program. It's far more than that. This election will be about America's very survival and the survival of the entire world economy. This will become a very dangerous world if the United States economy collapses. And that is where we're headed. Barack Hussein Obama must be defeated for re-election. It's got to stop. You can't run up your credit card and spend and spend and spend and spend and spend like there's no tomorrow and not expect the consequences to be disastrous. Eventually someone's going to come and want to collect those bills. Even the federal government cannot just spend like there's no tomorrow. The world doesn't work that way. There are limits on budgets and on what you can spend and on what you can appropriate. There are limits. And when you exceed that limit, as the Soviet Union did, it led to the collapse of the Soviet economy and the collapse of the Soviet Union. China collapsed, and now they have a capitalistic type economy as opposed to the socialism that they tried under Mao. North Korea is still trying to impose communism on its people, and its people are starving to death. We can't afford that situation here in the United States. You will lose everything that you have. Your stocks, your bonds, your savings accounts, your banks are going to be facing bankruptcy. You're going to have a collapse in housing values and the value of your homes. Everything will be collapsing. Everything around you. There'll be no safe place to put your money. It'll be a world gone mad. We can't afford that situation. And that literally is where we're headed. If you understand the importance of this, and you want the American people to be made aware of this before the November 6th election so that we don't make the disastrous, suicidal mistake of re-electing Barack Hussein Obama, God forbid, then join our forum and join our campaign to tell the truth to the American people. You don't have to be Jewish to join the JTF forum. About half of our members are not Jewish. There's a link below to join. Hope to see you on our forum. Shalom.